up, man? It's your big brother K-Rino. Look, this one might sting a little bit for certain artists and even people that are not necessarily in the music business but are in other forms of business, and that is knowing the difference between the personal value that you put on yourself and your art and your talent and your product versus what the actual market value is. And I'll break down the differences. As an artist, you may have somebody who they've been in the game a while, they've done a lot, sold a lot of music, um, toured, shows, all kinds of things, features, all this they have a real strong resume. And due to having that strong resume and that time and that longevity in the game, they have naturally and rightfully so, they have placed a value on their work. They have set in their mind, or even with a team, that look, this is what I'm worth, and these are my prices. So if somebody wants to get me on a song, they want a 16, or they want a hook, or they want to book me for a show, or whatever the case, an appearance, whatever it is, then there's a certain price range that I'm gonna go for, and in some cases they may not go under a certain price. Now, that's cool, because I was taught a long time ago it's not my place to devalue someone based on how they feel about themselves. I can't argue with the value that you place on yourself. But what we have to understand is that the value that we place on ourselves does not necessarily reflect the actual market value. So what is the market value? The market value is the demand that is out there for you and the level of profitability that you bring to the table. So in other words, if you're going to charge somebody $5,000 to do a show, $10,000 to do a show, then the market has to dictate and show that, okay, well, I'm going to make that back and then some, based on the demand that's currently on this audience. So whatever you are asking for, if the market does not justify that, then you're wasting your time and everybody else's. Because what you feel about yourself is not going to be reflective in the bottom line. So you can ask for this certain amount for a feature. You can ask for this certain amount for a show. And even with a feature, it's got to be like, well, wait a minute. Somebody may say, well, man, I really want you on this song, but the price you're charging me, I don't know if my project is going to generate that kind of revenue to justify me paying you what you're charging me for this feature. So these are some of the mistakes that not just young artists make, but even veteran artists make. Now, as a new artist, you may have the same thing. You may come in, because a lot of new artists come in real cocky, got a lot of confidence, a lot of arrogance, and they place themselves on a pedestal that they may not be on yet. That's just the nature of it. We all have done it. I've done it. We all did it. It's not a knock. It's just a reality. But you have to make sure that you're not being delusional. You can't come in the game, nobody knows who you are, and or they gotta pay me this amount. They gotta pay. If you should be paid, period. Because sometimes you gotta work your way up to reach a point where you build an audience and get to where you can actually request a dollar amount. And this is all based on generating a demand. See, people do it in business. My dad told me some one time, he said, never argue with a person's price when they're selling something. You have the option to just say no, or yeah, I'll buy it. It doesn't do you any good to be sitting there going toe to toe with somebody because they're trying to sell you this pencil for $200. How much you want for this pencil, man? Give me 200 for it. Instead, man, what two, man? You crazy, man? I ain't gonna pay nobody gonna pay no two. Hey, just say 200. Oh no, I can't do 200. All right, thank you, man. Because somebody might do it. But realistically, it don't always happen like that. So we will overprice market-wise a product that we come up with because in our mind, this is the value of it. We may calculate the cost that it took and the work that it took and the time that it took to put that together, and based on that, that's how we'll make the determination of what we're going to charge for it. But if it's not in demand, or if it's not something that people are even interested in, you may have been the only one who felt like this was a great idea. And then you're scratching your head wondering why nobody's supporting it. It's just what it is. On the flip side, this is why we see people spend exorbitant amounts of money on products that we look at like, why would you spend $300 on these shoes? It's not, it only costed $8 to manufacture. They really don't even look all that good. There's a demand. There's some levels of marketability that have come into play that made these things popular, and now people want them and they're willing to pay. So what's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is if you were trying to get a certain price, or you trying to raise your bracket up a little bit, you have to increase your demand. You have to make sure that the self-value and the worth that you put on yourself is not delusional, and that you work your way to a point where the marketability matches that. And if you get to that point, then you won't have to ever argue about your price. People will be throwing money at you. They will be coming to you, going above and beyond what you may even had in your mind to ask for. Because everybody wants a piece of the pie. And they're not just looking at how great you are, they're looking at how they can profit off of you as well. So be careful not to get caught up in the delusional mindset that your personal belief about who you are is equal to your market. You got to be real with yourself. What is the market for me? And if it's not satisfactory, I need to work harder to generate that in all phases, not just music, in any aspect of business, whatever it is you're trying to do, whatever product you create. Keep that principle in mind, because nobody's just going to give you money and give you anything because you think you're great. You might be great,